Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the New York Giants versus Denver Broncos Week 6 matchup based on analytics. Each week, I collect all of the current 2017 NFL team data in order to analyze and project potential NFL performance. And since it's a weekly collection, there will always be some fluidity with it. However, there will always be little nuggets of data that could become bigger nuggets of data as the season continues. So stick around as I analyze each week's matchups based on analytics. And if you're new to the channel, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So starting with this matchup between the Broncos, versus the Giants. And overall, most of the data favors the Denver Broncos. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise. The Giants are by far one of the worst teams in the NFL, and let me explain why. So when it comes to this particular matchup, when it comes to the total O score, which is the ability to create first downs as a offense, the Broncos are better than the Giants from that respect. The offense of the Broncos just does better when it comes to putting first downs, getting first downs. When it comes to preventing first downs, the Broncos are heavily favored over the Giants in that respect. Turnover ratio is actually more so with the Giants. Despite all the issues they've had, they actually haven't had as many turnovers as the Broncos, so that definitely is kind of in the favor of the Giants. Sack percentage, preventing sacks, is also more so with the Giants than the Broncos, which is surprising, but is also the case. And offensive score percentage is more so with the Broncos. So for the most part, the biggest issue the Giants have had this year is in terms of putting points on the board. They've been a little bit better in terms of turnovers. They've been a little bit better in terms of preventing sacks. But if you don't put points on the board, you're going to lose a lot of football games, and that's been the case. On top of preventing points, there's a vast difference between how well the Broncos have been in terms of preventing points from being put on the board in terms of their defensive offensive score percentage versus the Giants. So the Giants have, one, not been able to put up a lot of points on offense, and two, have been giving up a lot of points on defense, and that's just not a recipe for winning a lot of football games. When you look at turnovers, mostly favors the Broncos, but the Broncos actually haven't had a ton of turnovers this year compared to the rest of the NFL. Sack percentage is more so with the Broncos. They're about above average when it comes to that particular mark. But, they're 52.44, so about average to slightly above average. Then, of course, you look at interception ratio or percentage, for the Broncos, and much higher in terms of creating interceptions than the Giants, who are 0.47 out of 100. When it comes to special teams, punt return yardage heavily favors the Broncos. Kick return yardage favors the Broncos. Preventing punt return yardage favors the Broncos. And the only area where the Giants actually have some success is in terms of preventing kick return yardage. That's the only sort of special teams area where they're ahead. On top of that, field goal percentage actually favors the Giants. The Broncos have a significantly below average field goal percentage compared to the rest of the NFL. Actually, from that kind of perspective. And of course, when you look at extra point percentage, also favors the Giants slightly in terms of that one. That side kind of sizable. Punching average, of course, goes with the Giants. So overall, again, most of the offensive data favors the Broncos heavily. Most of the defensive data heavily helps the Broncos as well. And the only real area where the Giants have some advantages is in terms of special teams, especially when it comes to scoring on special teams, things like field goal percentage, extra point percentage. The Broncos just have those sort of breakdowns on special teams from that kind of perspective. But the overall data does favor the Broncos. So getting into some other sort of data points. So when you look at completion percentage data, so this is the Giants offense versus the Broncos defense when it comes to completion percentage. I'm not going to get too much into analyzing this particular data point, but this is how well that they're doing right now when it comes to the Giants versus the Broncos. Then, of course, when you look at the Broncos offense versus the Giants defense, pretty heavily favors the Giants defense when it comes to first and second down, but the big disparity on third down. Then, of course, when you look at first down conversion rate with the run versus the Broncos defense, the Broncos have by far one of, if not the best rushing defense in the NFL, and they're going up against the Giants offense that's not exactly that amazing. So pretty much favors the Broncos defense from that kind of perspective when it comes to rushing. Then, of course, you look at first down conversion rate with the run for the Broncos offense versus the Giants defense, and this is kind of a tie Between the two, the Giants definitely have some advantages on first and second down, but there's a big difference between the Broncos offense on second down versus the Giants defense on second down. So I would say that that's going to be a crucial down to see what happens because of that disparity. Then, of course, you look at passing down. So this is Giants passing offense versus the Broncos passing defense. Heavily favors the Broncos in that particular aspect. Then, of course, you look at the Broncos offense versus the Giants defense when it comes to converting with the pass on first, second, and third down. And this actually favors the Giants defense, except for third down. The Broncos, Trevor Siemian, the only thing he's really doing that well this year is converting on third down. That's about it for the most part. And also first down, getting first downs on first down. But second down has been pretty meh. The Broncos offense has actually been the worst passing offense in the NFL when it comes to converting passes on second down. So that's kind of a fun stat to kind of throw out there. Then, of course, you look at sack percentage. So this is the Giants offense versus Broncos defense when it comes to sacks. And honestly, heavily favors the Broncos in that respect. So the Broncos will get sacks. It's just a matter of how many they're going to get. And then, of course, you look at the Broncos offense versus the Giants defense when it comes to preventing sacks. Most of the sacks the Broncos have given up have been on first down, but the Giants just in general do not create a lot of sacks. So this is going to be kind of interesting to see how this kind of turns out because of that particular aspect of things. Then, of course, you look at interception ratio. So this is Giants offense versus Broncos defense. Mostly favors the Broncos defense. Then, of course, you look at the Broncos offense versus the Giants defense when it comes to interception ratio, and mostly favors the Broncos offense in that respect. So overall, my general impressions of this game, I'd say this is still a Broncos victory. The only thing that kind of worries me is I don't have a clear idea of what this Broncos team is. I think offensively they are getting it done, but not getting it done at a high level. I also think that there's some inconsistencies there that kind of wishy-washy. The field goal percentage they have especially is not where it needs to be. The extra point percentage is not where it needs to be. Like, crucial things on special teams in terms of putting points on the board are things that worry me about this Broncos team. And defensively, they haven't created a lot of turnovers. They haven't exactly been crazy sack monsters. They used to have been really good in terms of stopping the run, and they've been really good in terms of the pass to a certain extent, in terms of certain scenarios. So from that kind of perspective, all I'm saying is I don't think the Broncos are this killing machine of a team. I think they're kind of an average NFL team, except in certain areas. I do think they're above average, but they do have some areas where there's just a lot of inconsistencies. But I still don't think that inconsistency, those weaknesses are enough to give the Giants the win in this game because of how poorly they're playing overall. So because of that, again, I have to go Broncos. And of course, you can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.